Spot is presented by Botano. The game starts now. Here are your hosts, Brent Wallace, Jason York, and Bobby Ryan.
Hello, everybody. Once again, I'm Brent Wallace alongside the smartest man in hockey, Jason York. Yorkie, we're going to get to your bingo calling in a bit because I want to do it with our guest today, Randy Robitaille, because I want to get to what he thinks of you being a bingo caller at this point in your career. Like now, from now on, I'm just going to call you J33 like it's a bingo number.
Under the J? Well, there's no J on the bingo board, Wally.
I know.
Under the G, under the G, 33.
Do you have the board memorized?
we finished off with around the square too. That man. It's a good day. It's a good day.
I promise we're getting to it. I don't know what I don't know what Randy's going to think of this, but I promise we're going to get to it. Randy Robitaille, by the way, a former Ottawa Senator, Ottawa native, and now he's got a stable of great up and coming players in the National Hockey League, including Jack Quinn, Brent Clark, Graham Clark, his brother, among others. And so we will talk to him about the draft and what happens this week as that gets set for the 28th coming up here. Okay, Yorkie. Let's just get right to it. I don't want to hold him up because I got a ton of stuff to ask him about.
Yeah, let's go.
So,
let's go.
As always, our show proudly presented by Botano. Go to botano.ca, download the award-winning app, and get in on all the action. It is Canada's leading sports betting app. It is same-game parlays, online live betting, bet builder. You can do it all. Hundreds of betting options, of course. Also, live in-game betting and the most competitive odds in the market. The faster, most user-friendly, and advanced betting app for your mobile or tablet. Botano, the game starts now.
Oh, and Renfrew Pro, the original hockey tape. They've been with us since day one. As Bobby likes to say, it's hand terrible. Not that it makes your hands bad. You can tear it easily with your hands. Moisture resistant.
Stop saying that.
Well, it is. Hey, listen, many people have said that. Many people. You know it. You know it. Listen, it helps with your puck control. It's in every single pro locker room on the road and at home. Available at all major retailers. You can look them up at renfrewpro.com. Don't forget, it's the one with the green core. Give them a follow at Renfrew Pro. Don't forget to tag your teammates. You got unlimited entries to do that, and share your story, and you'll get 10 bonus entries.
For 35 years, BEI, Bonisher Excavating Inc., has built a reputation on providing great service and unmatched quality of work. And now the BEI team putting forth the same commitment to building your new home in the Wren subdivision, a project just an hour west of Canada, built by BEI Homes. Enjoy the vibrant small town atmosphere and all the modern conveniences. Walking distance to the beachfront or a bingo hall will soon be added by Jason York. Detached home, 70-foot frontage with water and sewer. There's also semi-detached homes and plenty of affordable options. Many floor plans and options to choose from. Prices starting as low as $500,000. Just check them out at BonisherHomes.com. Okay. Without further ado, Randy Robitaille, who played over 500 games in the National Hockey League, also played in Europe. We'll get to all the places he has actually been in. And now a player agent with Edge Sports Management. Randy, welcome to the show, my friend.
To the game tonight. Just having a cup of soup. What was that? Here's the giveaway. Robitaille moving in. He shot. Scores! Wow. Robitaille goes high. Goes to the point. Lazarus wrister. Scores! Puck is redirected by Robitaille. It's a one-goal game.
I said earlier that the Senators were having trouble getting to go on the power play and to change it up, and that's exactly what Spud Paddock did.
I forgot we had the video. Sir, how are you?
I'm well. How are you guys?
I'm good.
Hey, Roby, those hands aren't terrible, eh? Not too bad. Couple little snipes there.
Couple of snipes, yeah. I can't remember in the era that we played, Yorkie. There's not much footage, right? So surprised you guys found some. It was good to see.
We had to get it changed to color. That's what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't
Thanks
know
for having me
about.
on, guys.
Are you still fighting Sergei Berezin? Like that seemed to be going on for a while.
I don't know what was going on that year. I actually got in a couple of fights. I think I got one in my entire NHL career. And that was actually the last year I played. Our coach was Andrei Nazarov in that year, so maybe that had something to do with it.
What did you say? Okay, how does a fight with Sergei Berezin start? Like, who's starting that?
I'm not starting too much, Yorkie. You know that. I don't know. We were losing in the game. The coach was honest. It was just one of those moments. I was digging away at a rebound and a puck and took a slash, gave a slash, and then you know how things start. So
yeah. Oh, that's great.
Well, this is how quickly the show goes off the rails. But funny, I was going to bring up the fight later in the show. You had one NHL fight with Denny Gauthier. You were a member of Calgary, or sorry, you were a member of LA against Denny Gauthier in Calgary. You got 5-10 and a 2-minute instigator. What happened?
I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, to be honest with you. I think my line mates that game were, well, one of them I think was Joseph Stumple and Ziggy Palffy. And Gauthier hit Palffy up pretty high, and Ziggy was lying on the ice like he was not moving, like he was dead. And I happened to be the closest. I happened to be the closest guy, so it's kind of like I had no choice. So thank God it was more of a wrestling match than anything, and he kind of threw me down. It was over quick, but that was actually 2-5 and a 10. I already had a couple of goals in the game and an assist, so
yes.
I got a Gordie-Howe hat trick to my name, boys. So that's
I love it.
One I'll take, and I let my boys know every couple of years.
Hey, not too many guys have a Gordie Howe, but I'd love to see that. Look, hey, you see something like that happen, first instinct? All right, who else is on the ice right now? Oh, shit, I guess it's me.
Yeah. The funny part about that game is we played Edmonton the next night, and Steve Stais was just trying to run me the whole time. And I remember there was a face-off right by our bench, and the boys were on our team were kind of chirping Steve, said, like, go him. He's going to go you. Like, don't worry. So, anyways, yeah. One fight in the National Hockey League, a couple in the KHL, but that was it.
Oh,
that's
great.
classic. Denny Gauthier, by the way, listed at 6'3", 224 pounds.
The chainsaw. They called him the chainsaw, didn't they? He used to come across and make the big open ice hits on everybody, Gauthier.
Yep. He had some terrible hits. I actually roomed with him. I ended up by rooming with him when I played for the Flyers a couple years later. And then, ironically enough, I became friends with him. We talked about the incident, whatever. We had a good laugh. I got traded to the Islanders, and I remember one of the first games we played Philly. I got caught in a bad position, and I was puck watching, and I was trying to pass to a guy in front of the net, and he just came from behind and he bear hugged me. But if he was like, I felt like if I didn't know him or I didn't have a bit of a relationship with me, he would have just buried me from behind. So I thanked him after the game, and he just kind of gave me a chuckle. And he's like, "That's what buddies are for." I'm like, yeah, I'm like, did you see your highlight tape? Like, you don't have a lot of buddies in this league, so I really appreciate that.
That's pretty good. The only other one, so since we're on penalties, and then I'll move on, is in Buffalo, Philly. It's November the 11th, 2006. In overtime, Daniel Briere scores the winner. You and Simone Gagne both got 10-minute misconducts. I'm going to guess you said something to the official.
Okay, so I'm trying to remember the game. Yeah, we got a too many men on the ice penalty in overtime to put us down 4-on-3. It was just our opinion was just a horrible call.
Oh, wait, you're the penalty. You served the penalty.
I served the penalty. I was going on the ice. I think Peter Nedved was casually coming to the bench while they were going on an odd man rush, so I might have jumped on early. Anyways, we got a penalty in overtime. I just came back from injury, so I think the bench was pissed off. I was pissed off, so I didn't even know I got a 10-minute misconduct. So thanks for bringing it up. I just remember the game. I remember kind of what happened, but it was a too many men on the ice penalty late or in overtime, and yeah, that's how it started. So the guys were pissed off.
The only reason I brought it up was those are the only two games in the National Hockey League where you have more than 4 minutes in penalties. So I wanted to figure out what was going on. Speaking of which, that year, Ken Hitchcock was your coach. In fact, you ended up with 4 head coaches on that roster. John Stevens, Terry Murray, and Craig Berube, all coaches. Hitch is going into the Hall of Fame and just announced yesterday. What are your thoughts on him as your head coach? He was replaced partway through that year, or he replaced Stevens?
Yeah, no, Stevens replaced Ken Hitchcock. I think he was six or 7 games in, to be honest with you. We didn't have a good training camp. We didn't have a good start to the season. I mean, we had Yorkie, we had Darian Hatcher and Mike Ratchie, and we had some old school guys. Peter Nedved was on that team. Jake Sanderson's dad, Jeff Sanderson, was there. So Hitch wasn't around very long, to say the least. I think we 6 or 7 games in, wasn't a good start. They gassed him. I think we were in Tampa when they did. I remember sitting in the lobby with Jeff Sanderson, and Jeff was looking around going, Roby, we got to get out of the lobby here. If we're seen, we're going to get sent down, or, because they were just looking to make any kind of moves possible.
We've lost you.
Oh, there. Oh, on my back.
You just froze for a second.
Okay, sorry.
All good.
So I didn't. I wasn't under Hitch for very long. Like I said, John Stevens came in and replaced him. Craig Berube was our assistant, and then I was only there until about Christmas time, and then I got shipped off to the New York Islanders. But Hitch, the old boys from Hitch the year before in Philly had some stories about Hitch for sure. Hitch loved the bagels. Hitch loved the power bars. I know Ronak had said that he had told Hitchcock one of the times, because he used to come in the morning and grab some bagels and grab a bunch of power bars, and Ronak would mention to him, like, those power bars are like snacks. They're not actually like meals for you to have like throughout the day. Like, those are 300 to 400 calories each, so they had a good laugh. But
Roby, did you ever hear the story when Hitch was in Dallas? And they had an older team there. They had Mike Keane, Brett Hull, and it was one day before practice. Mike Keane dressed up like Hitchcock and went out and ran the first part of practice, because Hitch always came on the ice late. And Keane dressed up, and he put like a pillow in to make himself a little chubbier. He put the tracksuit on. He went out and he was talking like Hitch, yelling like Hitch. And then Hitchcock comes on the ice and he sees Mike Keane dressed up as him. But man, the guys used to he used to really give it to guys though. Like I heard, like, on the bench, like, it was there was no mute button with that guy.
Yeah, no, like I said, he was only there for a short time when I was there, so I didn't really get to experience the full Hitchcock.
Yeah.
And we weren't very good, but I could definitely see that for sure.
So I want to go over, if I've got them all listed properly, the places you've played, which includes some AHL and some Europe. So let's go. Providence, Rhode Island, you won a Calder Cup, and you were also league MVP in one of those seasons, 102 points in 74 games. Boston, Nashville, Milwaukee, Manchester, New Hampshire, LA, New York, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, actually twice. You got traded there but never played, and then you signed there in 03-04. Minnesota, Philadelphia, San Antonio. Just one sec, I'm almost done. Zurich, during the lockout, you were league MVP, and then beat out Joe Thornton and Rick Nash among those guys. Top scorer and league MVP. Lugano, Yaroslavl, Ottawa. And then I don't know if I can pronounce the next one, but it's in Siberia. And then Donetsk, Ukraine. Wow. Can you sum up your career and what that's like? I don't know. It's got to be cool in one sense to see and experience all these different places. Is it unsettling to never know where you're going to be?
It definitely is. I mean, that was a big part of making the decision to go over to Europe after I played with the Sens. I had experienced Switzerland in the 04-05 lockout. Got a chance to play in Zurich. They treated me. I mean, Yorkie played there. He can also, confirm how good of a spot it is. But no, I mean, signing with the Bruins as a free agent, non-drafted out of college. You never really think you're going to be in as many places as you end up, and obviously would have loved to have been in one spot for the length of my career, but just didn't work out that way. Started in Boston and tried to work my way up through the minors, as you mentioned. Was fortunate enough to win a Calder Cup in Providence early in my career, which was fantastic. That sort of year sort of springboarded me into my NHL career. I know you mentioned I was with Atlanta Thrashers twice. That's kind of how I got into the NHL with Nashville, is that apparently in the expansion draft, the Bruins protected me, but then made a side deal with Nashville not to take a goalie. I think the goalie at the time was Rob Tallis. So they had taken another player with the pick, but then, had an arrangement to trade for me after the draft. So that's how I ended up in Atlanta. Never signed with them and got traded to Nashville for Denny Lambert, who was a former Sen. So that's how I started my career in Nashville. I know Yorkie played there. I think we wore the same number, Yorkie. You were 27 in Nashville?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. The old 2-7.
Okay.
How good is Nashville, though? I know we've talked about it before, but for people listening, it's fair to say one of your favorite spots?
Absolutely my favorite spot. I was there in 99 to 01, so they were second and third year in existence. I don't know if you've been back there at all. Yorkie, have you been back there since you played at all?
Yeah, they had an alumni event, and I broadcasted a few games there. It's just such the people, the people, the place, the friendliness, and Barry Trotz. Like, what's his secret, Roby? Like, why do you think he has so much success?
Oh wow, that's you just hit the nail there. What a great individual. What a great person. What a great first impression for me stepping into the National Hockey League, having a guy like Barry Trotz. I went from having Pat Burns in Boston, who I couldn't look at, who you couldn't talk to, who you just felt like you couldn't do anything right for, being a young guy, where coming into a locker room like Nashville with a guy like Barry Trotz, who was starting his NHL coaching career as well at that same time. So I thought him and his staff were tremendous. I spent 2 years there and have nothing but great things to say about Barry, about the organization, and what a spot now. I had the opportunity to go back about 5 or 6 years ago with my boys who were playing in a tournament there, and I didn't recognize the place, Yorkie, like the downtown area and the expansion of just the infrastructure and the Music City Hall of Fame, and just the buzz in the rink, and just what an incredible franchise. I would, if any of my clients today were to be selected by Nashville or be playing in for the Predators, like that would be an amazing experience for them.
Absolutely.
I was just going to say, are you sucking up to Barry Trotz right now? Because he's now the GM in Nashville.
Hey,
you see how that works? You see how that works, guys? I tell a lot of people now, like, the bad news is I played on a lot of teams in the NHL, but the good news is I played on a lot of teams in the NHL, which gives me a lot of good connections and a lot of built up relationships over the years. So, I mean, you see a lot of players, Yorkie, and guys that we played with throughout our careers that are now, in the NHL in executive roles, management roles, scouting roles, coaches. It definitely makes my job today quite a bit easier.
Like, you just tweeted about Bill Armstrong, if I'm not mistaken, another guy you're trying to obviously suck up to.
Yeah, exactly. Bill and I played together. We won a Calder Cup together in Providence. He was one of our captains, one of our leaders. He was actually, I believe, the year we won it. He was
player coach.
Player coach. Yeah, he was actually on the bench. One. First year in Providence, guys. Oh, did I lose you?
Just for a second.
Providence. Yeah, my first year in Providence, guys. We were the worst team in pro hockey. That was my first full pro year. We had Tom McVie as a head coach. We had lots of good players, good young players in Providence, but just too young to win. Peter Laviolette came in the following year. We made a couple of trades, brought in some older AHL veterans, and had a good run. And that was the year we won the Calder Cup, and that was Peter Laviolette and Bill Armstrong on the bench.
Do you guys know what? Do you guys know what Bill Armstrong's most famous moment in his career is? A little trivia for you.
Oh boy, I always worry when Yorkie comes up with these ones.
I'm involved in this because yes, I'm involved in this because that fucker he took my Memorial Cup ring. I was in Kitchener. We were playing Oshawa, double overtime. Freddie Brathwaite, local guy, was playing nets for Oshawa. Armstrong's at the point, sends a floating wrister towards the net. Our D-man, John Uniacke, never do this, kids at home. use your glove, not your stick. Goes to bat it down with his stick, off the stick, in the net. Bill Armstrong, double overtime, Memorial Cup game-winning goal. That was the best. It was all downhill after there for Bill.
And that wasn't a muffin he threw on net there. That was a rocket for him.
Oh!
I'm just scratching Bill Armstrong off our guest list right now.
Come on.
Exactly.
You had Rod Langway as an assistant coach on that team. You went 19, 49, 7, and 5. Andre Waugh played on that team for Sens fans. What's Rod Langway like as a coach?
Oh, Roby went silent. He's
Sorry, boy. Can you see me now?
Yeah,
there we go.
What's Rod Langway like as a coach?
He was really good. His job was to take care of the D that year. Obviously, Tom McVie was our head coach. As you mentioned, our record wasn't very good. We were the worst team in pro hockey. All of a sudden, at about January, Rod started having his equipment on during practice. And we thought that was kind of funny. He never said anything. And we were just like, oh, okay, maybe he just is trying to get himself back in shape. We weren't really sure. And then it was about a week or two into practice, and we started to hear that he was going to actually come play for us and help us. So I didn't know what to think at the time. I mean, he was – how old would he have been at that time, I guess? I don't even know. Would you guys know? That would have been in 1998, 99.
Probably late 30s.
He's 66 right now, so probably around, almost maybe 40?
40 in his early 40s, something like that. Anyways, kept himself in decent shape. But, I got to play with Rod Langway. He suited up for I want to say he played for two weekends. And the story is, guys, I'll be honest with you, we had back-to-back against Springfield. And Danny Briere, I think, was the one that decided to put Rod back into retirement for the final time. He was a couple odd man rushes, inside, outside, get the feet crossed over for Rod, down into some breakaways. It was a tough weekend for Rod, so that was the end of it. But I'll give you a funny story with Rod, because he was our assistant coach, and then when he came back to play, it was like he wasn't the assistant coach anymore. So we got in real late from a road trip. And you know, Yorkie, when you play in the minors, you go to the rink, you gotta unpack your bag or you unpack the bus, and you know, there's a process there, right? So
Roby.
Sorry. Guys were trying to get out of the rink really quick, and Rod was a player now, and our coach was just trying to do some video on the board and talk about our weekend. And Rod was in the background while the coach had his back turned. He's going to the guys like, can our coach like hurry up? Like, we're trying to get out of here. And so we all had a good laugh, because that was supposed to be our assistant coach, and he's supposed to be setting an example. And all he wanted to do was get out of there and head to the bar, right? So,
yeah, he wanted to go have beers. I heard he loved his beers.
Absolutely. Oh, he liked his beers. Definitely liked his beers. Yeah, but he was a good man. Definitely a good man.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay, so I'm going to have to skip a bunch. However, I want to get to playing in Russia and what that's like before we get to how you got to Ottawa. But you played, like, at the end of your career, Novokuznetsk? Something? Okay. That's in Siberia. And so you played 2 seasons there. What was that like for you?
That was definitely a different experience. I was trying to come back to North America. Just nothing really made sense. Just thought it was the right time to make a move and head over to the KHL. It's funny. I arrived in September, I think September 5th, and the Russian agent that I had at the time had flew over with me to help get me settled and get into my apartment and set up my bank account and all that kind of stuff. So he was staying with me for, I think, 4 or 5 days. The second day that I was there was the news of the plane crash in Yaroslav. So that was like, wow, I just got here. I'm just starting off in the KHL, and that was the news with the plane crash. So that first week, guys, was like I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know if I was going to stay, if I was going to come home, but decided to stay and just settled in. They treated me with a lot of respect.
I was going to say,
and I know my keep cutting out there.
That's okay. As long as it's okay when you're talking to like Danny Briere and Bill Armstrong and all the GMs, you're good.
Yeah.
You, I think, are fourth. You remain like the fourth leading scorer for Yaroslavl, or for the team in Siberia. I'm not even going to try to.
You're not even going to go there.
Like you did have, I guess, some success personally, but is it tough to kind of? And I know you've been in Zurich and stuff before, but was it tough to kind of be in Russia playing?
It's definitely tough at first. There's no question. It's a huge culture shock, and things are just done differently there. You know, in Novoskuznetsk, it's a big city. I think the population is 1 million people, but in a year and a half that I was there, I don't think I didn't see outside of maybe a mile radius of my apartment, the rink, and a couple of restaurants. You know, the toughest time, and I got guys that are looking to go over to the KHL now, and guys I don't represent that'll call me and ask my opinion, and I tell this to everybody. I said, if you can get through the first month or month and a half, you'll be fine. You know, once the season starts and you get into the routine of practices and games, and there's tons of travel, guys, as you know. I mean, we had 9-hour flights to play one game, traveling 7 time zones. So sleeping pills were your friend. You know what I mean? To be honest with you, just to get through those flights, we would stay on our own local time zone. So picture that. We'd be getting into just because we weren't in the new city long enough to, you know, change the clock 7-8 hours. So we would stay on our own local time zone. So we'd be eating pregame meals at 2-3 in the morning. We'd be, you know, napping at different times and literally go in and play one game and get out of there, and then back on to the next city. So very lots of travel. A really good league, really competitive league. Like I said, they treated me well. I have really nothing but good things to say in the 2 spots that I was over in the KHL.
Yeah, and Roby played well when he was over there. So for certain guys that would go over there and not play well, Roby, maybe it wouldn't have gone as well back then, eh? Like, so I heard some stories, and I know it's changed a lot there now, but man, I remember talking. You remember Jamie Heward?
Jamie Heward, yeah.
When he went,
remember Jamie Heward.
Like I heard when he went over, and we're going back to like late 2000s. I heard every time he'd go on a road trip, he'd come back, and his apartment would just be ransacked. So the guys on the team said, just leave a couple bucks on your bed, and they'll take care of it. So he started leaving money. Not only did he come back and find his apartment was not broken into, they cleaned it for him. So he was playing in what's the capital of the nice city there in Russia? The beautiful old architecture.
Not Leningrad, but
not Leningrad.
St. Petersburg.
He was playing in that was St. Petersburg, and that's a nice city. But you always got paid on time, though, eh, Roby, when you were playing?
I always got paid. I wasn't always on time. So no, it's not like the NHL where it's, you know, set on the 1st and the 15th. It's they say they're going to pay you once a month. They were usually late, to be honest with you. And it was funny because you talk to the other imports and they're like trying to come up with a plan to how do we get our money, and, you know, I'm going to leave if I don't get our money. And I'm like, I always told them, I'm like, well, if you leave, you're definitely not getting your money. So why would you do that? You know, so it was always a little bit late, but the story of guys when they go on the road, like I heard that as well. A lot of teams pay the bonuses in cash, right? So they give you your cash as bonuses, and then surprisingly, it's the day before you go on a road trip. So what are you going to do with all this cash? You know, you leave it in your apartment. So I think that's how the story started, but never an issue with me. So again, I was lucky. Yeah.
Nice.
As an agent, would you suggest going to Russia right now to play if you're Canadian or American?
I would probably look to exhaust all other options at the beginning, to be honest with you. But again, it depends on the player. It depends on where they're at in their life. Do they have a family? Do they not? What are they trying to do? What's their age? I mean, outside of the NHL, the KHL is still one of the higher paying leagues, right? So guys that go over there, that is a big reason why they go over there. So I wouldn't tell a client not to go there, but we would definitely look at all options to see what's available before making that decision.
And lastly, before we get to Ottawa, you played in Donetsk, Ukraine. Is it tough for you? Like, I think you spent, well, at least one season there, if not a bit more, maybe two, of, I guess, watching what's happened, knowing that you've lived there.
Yeah. I was there for a year and a half. I got traded there my second year in the KHL from Novoskuznetsk. That second half of the year was a great experience. I re-signed for the next year. We actually had a really good team. That was the year, my last year that I played was actually the year that Russia started to slowly creep into Crimea. There was a lot of political issues going on there at that time. It actually dropped the local currency, the hryvnia, it's called. Sorry, guys. I know I keep cutting out here.
It's okay.
So yeah, to see what's going on there now is crazy. We actually, that year, guys, we played our home games at the end of the year in Slovakia because of all the things that were going on. Yeah. So our last, our playoff series that year, we played in Slovakia in Bratislava because our rink was vandalized. The downtown core of Donetsk was under a bit of pressure. Banks were closed. So there was quite a bit of stress there. So as soon as the season was over, as you can imagine, I was out of there.
See you later.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, see you later. Yeah. So I would have re-signed there for another year. I was 37. I would have been 38 in October. Sorry, guys. But yeah, I was hoping to play another year, to be honest with you. If it wasn't for all that. Yeah. So,
I told Yorkie not to share his dial-up internet with you, but that's
mine's good now.
Listen. Okay. So
sorry, guys.
No, I want you to. How did you get from Russia to Ottawa? You played the 07-08 season. You got claimed off. It was off of waivers, I think. That's how it ended up happening. Did you right? You were brought into Ottawa through the waivers.
Yeah. So a quick story. I tried to actually sign with the Sens that summer after I played with the Islanders. The backstory and actually how I got to Russia is I was playing with Alexei Yashin in New York. Alexei's, I don't know if you know this, Yorkie, Alexei's agent was Mark Gandler.
Yep.
I don't know if you remember.
We know Mark, in Ottawa.
You know Mark Gandler. So it's funny. I was playing for the New York Islanders. We were at a dinner with a bunch of guys. We showed up at the restaurant, and there was Alexei Yashin and Mark Gandler. Well, halfway through the dinner, I didn't ever met Mark. He came up to me, asked if he could have a minute of my time, pulled me away from the dinner table, and he said, "Hey, I just been watching you play, and I represent players over in the KHL. I think I can get you a lot of money and in a good spot. Like, would you be interested in doing that?" And it kind of took me off guard, and it just, but it started the conversations of, what I want to do. And so because of my playing career and because I had traveled over a bunch of teams and I started to have a family at this point, I actually wanted to consider it. I would have been 32 at the time, something like that. Tried to get a deal with Ottawa in the summer. I wanted to stay home. We couldn't make that work, so I decided to take the offer over in Russia. So that's how I ended up in Yaroslav, but tried to get a deal done with the Sens. So coming back full circle, things didn't work out in Russia. I didn't love it. I tried to bring my wife and my two boys at the time over there. Like we talked about before the show, both my boys became a little bit ill. I just didn't like the medicine over there, the care that they were getting. So my wife and my boys came home, and I told them when they left, I'd be following you very shortly. So happened to circle back with the Sens at the time. I think they were 7 or 8 games into the season. Had to clear waivers through the entire NHL. I'm fortunate enough to do so, and then ended up coming home for my last year in the NHL, which was very special.
Hey, Roby, how does that work? I'm trying to remember. The KHL, so they don't like, do they have to sign off on you, or do you have a clause in your contract that said you could get out of it at any time?
So at the time, Yorkie, I don't believe I had a clause. We just came to a mutual agreement.
Yeah.
I actually gave them some money back to help me get back and try to amend the relationship as best as possible. Because if you look at it on their side, I mean, they're losing an import, right? That they invested some money and some time in. So it just was kind of unfortunate, but it gave me a chance to come home. But they were good. They were understanding, but there was some transactions and some paperwork to get the full release at the time. Yeah.
Because the reason I asked that, because when I went over to play in Lugano, I had an out clause in my contract till November, and St. Louis offered me a contract, and I said, well, I'm going back. And I told Lugano, and they said, well, it was after November. We're not letting you go. So I said, well, I'm going home then. So I went home. And the GM calls me. He's like, how you doing? How's home? You having a nice visit? You coming back soon? I'm like, no, I'm not coming back. And it's okay. I'll call you in a couple of days. And they wouldn't sign off.
Really?
No. And so anyhow, I ended up having to go back. But it was probably should have stayed there too. That's where I belonged. I had no business being in the NHL anymore. But no, that's why I was asking the question, that you're able to get out of that, because they wouldn't let me out of mine.
Okay, so yeah, I didn't have any of that clause. I thought when I signed the deal in Russia, I thought I was done with the NHL and not coming back. So I didn't really worry about it at that time. But like I said,
Was the deal done in a black sedan in an alleyway?
To be honest with you, you're not far off. But when I went there in the summer, before I actually committed to go there just to check it out, because I'd never been to Russia, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I had to get set up with a bank account and all that kind of stuff. And you fly into Moscow. It was a 5-hour drive to Yaroslav. There was a car that picked me up, and my agent at the time had scheduled for me to meet some bankers in between Moscow and Yaroslav. So we literally pulled off the highway, to your point, in a black sedan SUV, and these bankers two bankers came into the vehicle while we did some paperwork and got me set up with a bank account. And I got to be honest with you guys, like, I almost, like, it was right out of the movies. Like, I can't describe it any different. It was disturbing, to be honest with you. Like, I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I mean, I don't know if you guys spend every time in Russia, but that's just the way they do things there. You know what I mean? Yep. And it's just a lot different than what we do it here. But it was definitely an experience.
Roby, were you in the front seat or the back seat? Were the guys sitting behind you? Were you getting ready to get choked or something?
We're doing business in the back, Yorkie. But I'm looking around all the time. Head on a swivel, right? So.
Did you?
It was crazy.
That reminds me. You guys both have heard the story about Freddie Brathwaite, right? When he got pulled over.
Well, did he not used to put the checks in his goalie pads so he knew where they were?
No, he got. Okay, this is a quick one. So Freddie Brathwaite is over playing in Russia like you were, and he said after a game he was driving home. He got pulled over by the cops, and they just motioned for him to come in the car. And then they started driving away with him in the back seat. He didn't know what to do, so he got on the phone and called one of his teammates, Ruslan Saleh, who spoke Russian, obviously. And Rusty said, "Here, pass the phone to the cops." Passes the phone to the cops. They talk blah, talk Russian, puts it back to Freddie, and he's like, "All right, give him $500 and I'll let you go." No word of a lie.
So wow.
Gives him $500. Not only did they let him go, they brought him back to his car, shook his hand. Have a great night. See you later.
The same thing happened to me. I have the exact same story. But
Come on.
Call Russo. Yeah, I got pulled over for some traffic violation. I have no idea what it is. Coming out of my apartment, the same route I went every day to the rink, and I got pulled over and obviously don't understand what's going on. So I had to call Alexei Yashin. same thing. Gave the phone to the police officer. He talked to Yashin. Yash gave me the phone back, and he said the exact same thing. He said, just leave him some money, and I'll let you go. So I went to hand the police officer the bills, the money. I don't remember how much it was, the rubles, probably around $500. And he didn't want to take it from my hand directly. So he had this little billy stick, right? And he taps it on the dash.
Oh my God.
I'm like looking at him. I'm like, he taps his billy stick on the dash again. So I'm like, okay, so I guess I'm putting the money on the dash. So it's not a hand-to-hand transfer. I don't know why this made a difference. But as soon as I put it on the dash, he grabbed it and he closed the door, and then I was on my way. So that's the exact same story. So they're just looking for people like me to grab some extra cash. Crazy.
Off you go. A little business transaction for the day, and on with your day you go.
Exactly.
I got to do World Juniors in Ufa, and then I did World Championships in Belarus, and I've seen some of that stuff. So I remember the consulate from Canada in Belarus goes, they know exactly everything you're doing every second of the day. They are following you. And then we had like somebody would come to my hotel room like 7 times a day. Do you need water? Do you need mints? Do you want some chocolates? They just wanted to see what we were doing. Yeah. Yep. Anyway, interesting time. Okay. We haven't even got to Ottawa yet. I apologize, Randy. What's it like to play for your hometown team? Your first NHL goal is assisted, your first goal with the Sens assisted by Alfie, if I'm not mistaken. If not your first two, you're playing with Danny Heatley and Jason Spezza, known as the best line in hockey at the time. Can you take me through this?
Definitely a special time in my career, in my life, something I'll never forget. One of the greatest things about that, it was, they were just coming off the Stanley Cup run the year before. Right. So team was really good, lots of buzz around the city. So for me to be able to come in and try to be a part of that at that time was extremely special. I was extremely grateful. Like I said, I started the year over in Russia, so I'd missed the beginning of the season. I think when I got to Ottawa at the time, I think they were 7-0 or 7-1 or something like that. So to be a part of such a group like that was sorry, guys. I got a chance to play with Alfie and Heater there early. And like you said, Alfie set up both my first goals with the Sens. I think it was against Atlanta. And we had a good run there for a while. Obviously, towards the back half of the season, we started to tail off a little bit. Heater separated his shoulder. Goaltending was hot and cold, and Brian McGrattan was getting in fights with Ray Emery in practice, and John Paddock was fired. Brian Murray came in, and we ended up by getting swept with the Penguins. So it wasn't the storybook sort of season that in Stanley Cup run that we were hoping for that year, but definitely a special time to be a part of. Like I said, the buzz around the city at that time. And what was going on with the team and the club at that time was definitely special to be a part of.
Like, so bizarre to me here that you guys start 15-2, I think, set the NHL record for most points through the 17 games or something like this. My assignment desk wants me to start comparing this team to like the 76 Canadiens, which had, I think, 11 Hall of Famers on it or something. I was like, okay, we got to pump the brakes a little. John Paddock coaches in the All-Star game and is fired by the end of the year. And what happened with John Paddock that ultimately led to his demise? Just 60 games in, or I don't even know if he lasted. He went 36, 22, and 6.
Okay. Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't know if it was a John Paddock thing. Like he was great, to be honest with you. I remember a home game we played. I don't know the date on it, but we were the best team in the East. Detroit Red Wings came in to play us, and they were the top team in the West. So it was kind of like, two of the top teams going at it. We ended up by winning the game, but Danny Heatley separated his shoulder that game. So he missed the next, I don't know, it was 6-7 weeks or whatever it was. And to be honest with you guys, like he was such a big part of the team and the nucleus, and that kind of started a little bit of a skid for our team. we were deep. I don't know what exactly. I can't put a finger on it. What the exact problem was. Martin Gerber, Ray Emery were our goaltenders. They were hot and cold. So I don't really know what it was, but we were on a very inconsistent for the back half of the season, and it seemed like Brian just had to make a change. I mean, this is a team that went to the Stanley Cup Finals the year before, and this is a team that we were supposed to kind of do it again. And so.
Yeah, it was an odd time. January 13th, I think, is the date. New Jersey, an overtime loss. So I guess for you, we always ask this question. Here you are a lot later in your career. You've played a lot of teams, but now you're getting to play for your hometown team. Was it a special time for you to go into the room the first time to see the game jersey hanging there?
It definitely was. Like I told you guys before, I tried to get a deal done with Brian to go to Ottawa in the summer. It didn't happen, so very disappointed. So when I got the opportunity in October to come back, I was extremely excited. Ottawa. I was sorry to say this. I was a huge Montreal Canadiens fan growing up, and we didn't have a team here in Ottawa, right? Yeah. My dad was a big Hab fan. He would go to a couple games a year. But like I said, during that time, starting from the early 2000s all the way through to maybe 2010, the Sens were a strong team, one of the strongest teams in the NHL. So to be a part of that, coming home, playing in front of family and friends, I mean, Yorkie experienced that as well. I can tell you all about it. Definitely a special time, and to be a part of that group and go into the locker room and see your jersey there, and it was definitely a special time for sure.
And Roby, I remember because I was doing a little bit of media stuff back then, so I watched a lot of the games. You had some good runs. Like they would elevate you, and I always thought you had some pretty good chemistry. You got a chance to play with Alfie a little bit. Whenever you got an opportunity, you seemed to put up some numbers. You had the white boots back then too, didn't you? I'm trying to remember. Did you have the old?
I think they're more silver than white. But yeah,
hey, you had the white Nikes going, didn't you? But I remember you had some good runs though. Like when they'd put you up and down the lineup. Whenever you got a chance to play up, you'd always produce.
I mean, I had some good games. I mean, I wasn't always the most consistent. It's as you know, Yorkie, being a player, confidence is a big part of your success or not having success at this level. There was times playing with those guys I felt really good, and obviously when you're playing with the likes of an Alfie or Spez or a Heater, you're also going to be out there quite a bit, right? So it definitely makes the game easier. I just struggled a little bit, I guess, with confidence, and I always felt if I didn't perform that night, I wasn't going to be there the next night. So it's always a mindset battle. It's difficult, but definitely enjoyed my time playing, getting an opportunity to play with some of those guys. Wish it could have lasted longer, and I wish I could have had some more success, but definitely experienced some good times in Ottawa for sure.
Who's beating who on the golf course right now if you're having a game, you or Alfie?
No doubt about it, Alfie.
Oh, he's beat because there was a time when you were playing some pretty good golf.
Alfie and I had a pretty good match actually that year in Ottawa when I was still playing a lot of golf. Kids weren't old enough, so I still had lots of time to do that. We played in Florida. We had a day off. I beat him up pretty good that day. Had a good run, but we played a couple of times over the last couple of years. I just haven't been in a position to golf very much, Yorkie. I know we texted yesterday about getting together and golfing and how many strokes you're going to give me. I'm just really not golfing that much these days, to be honest.
Come on, bud.
So definitely Alfie all day long. We played a couple times over the last couple of years, and he's still pretty good.
Yeah, he's taking lots of lessons now. I hear lots of lessons.
Lessons. I mean, you remember at the Royal now, Yorkie? Are you at the Royal?
I'm feeling you out here for the member guest. You're a ringer.
Yeah. Let me know what it is. Give me some time to work on my short game before you call me out.
Is Daniel Alfredsson the most competitive person you've ever played with or like have known?
He's definitely up there. There's no question. That's why I think we get along so well. I mean, I'm competitive. I like to grind away at guys at different sports, whether it's on the ice or golf or ping pong. I mean, me and Alfie's had some good ping pong matches as well, some golf matches. But yeah, he's into the pickleball now. What is he? Yeah. Tennis. Paddle ball. Yeah. So he's into all sorts of stuff. We actually coached together, not this past season, but the season before in Pembroke in U18. Our boys were playing on there. So we'd actually get out in the ice, and before practice, we'd try to hit crossbars or just do something like. We're both kind of the same that way. We like to dive into some competitive sports and stuff, but he's definitely up there as one of the most competitive players or people that I know. But he's good at everything, so I'd be the same way.
I'll tell you guys a quick story. I told you this before, Wally. You remember the Ottawa Lynx, Roby? So they brought us out for batting practice. I'm going back to like late 90s. For batting practice, just some of the Sens. There was Reds, Alfie, myself. Alfie had never played baseball. So he gets up to bat. He's holding the bat with his hands separated. Misses the first couple. Third pitch, hits it over the fence. Never played baseball.
That's Daniel Alfredsson.
Crazy, isn't it? I put two over myself, though, Roby.
Yeah. Okay. Alfie, by the way, still suspended from coaching. Have you ever faced Daniel Alfredsson playing ping pong when he doesn't have a shirt on? Does that mean like he's dead serious?
I believe he had his shirt on, but I'll be honest with you. I'm a decent ping pong player. I don't play a lot, but I'm a decent player. He beat me with both hands. You know what I mean? Like he does, like it's crazy. Like I don't even get this guy how he does it, but no, he's competitive for sure.
It's so good. All right, I want to move on to the draft because one of the reasons I wanted to have you on was talk about being an agent, and we're
talking about Russia. It's the Russia stories are too good.
Yes, that's the problem here. How busy a week is this for you? And by the way, a little bit of anniversary for you. It is on this date in 2018 the Dallas Draft began with the first round, and that means in Ottawa, Brady Tkachuk was selected. So for you, Randy, just like you have great clients. What is it like leading up to this week for guys who are potentially like Brant Clark, who went in the first round? Do you talk to them much? Are you leaving them alone? How does this go?
No, you're definitely talking with your draft eligibles quite a bit. Not just leading up to the draft, but it's a year-long process. Like these guys are getting evaluated as soon as game one starts. If they're playing in the OHL or college, and they're going through interviews and calls throughout the entire year. So you're always talking with them, keeping them informed. Jotting down notes, making lists of what teams are contacting them, who they spoke to, just keeping a running log. So, it all leads up to next week, obviously. But it seems like a long year. These guys are 17, 18 years old. They're curious. They're wanting information. They want to hear all the teams that are interested in them and what it looks like, and speculating and where they think they may be going and where they may be landing, and obviously information that is very tough to give them at that time. So it all kind of leads up to the combine a couple of weeks ago in Buffalo. I was down there for a night, had a couple of clients there, went out for dinner. So what happens when these players check into the hotel at the combine in Buffalo, the league invites sort of the top 100 kids, prospects eligible. Each player checks into their room, and when they check in, they get an envelope, and that envelope gives them their schedule. With their testing times and what they're doing, and all the NHL teams that they're meeting with throughout the week in Buffalo. So what I do is I tell my players that are there to take a picture, send me a picture of that page. It shows me all the teams that are meeting with them again at the combine, And then I will follow up with all those teams before the draft to try to get as much information as I can for the player leading into the draft, so I can educate them on kind of not exactly what to expect, because as you guys know, it's a draft and crazy things happen, but try to give them as best I can an idea of where I think this might end up for them and how this is going to work. So
you got like you said, Rob, you got a young kid going in there getting grilled with questions. What's the best advice the one thing you'll say to one of your clients to do when you go in with that's a lot of stress, right?
It definitely is. I try to, as a group, I have some partners as well that have been in the business for 30, 35 years. We have a list of questions that we send the guys just so they can have a look at to just get them, comfortable with some of the types of questions that they could be asked. Sorry, broke up again. I find, a lot of guys try to prep their clients on what to say and how to say it, and I think it's better to just be yourself. And why I say that is because when a team drafts you, then they know what player they're getting. They know what kid they're getting, and that's why they drafted you. I personally think that gives that player a better opportunity to succeed because that team drafted them despite any flaws that they may have. They like the rawness. They like that the player isn't polished. Like, these kids are 18 years old. They shouldn't be polished. They shouldn't. 98% of the guys that are drafted next week are going to be back to their junior clubs or back to their European clubs or back to college. There's only going to be one or two of them that separate in the NHL. So these drafts are for guys that are going to be playing hopefully for that team in 3, 4, 5, 6 years from now. So they're not a finished product, right? So it's nice for them to be open and honest and show their immaturity a little bit, because I think it actually helps them.
Mm-hmm. When you're prepping your clients, do you ask them a bunch of dumb questions too? Because they have that always weird question that someone's coming up with.
So there was a question one of my clients got asked, I think in 2019, was if you could take, what was the question? If you could take a pill right now that means that would guarantee you're going to win the Stanley Cup, but you're going to die at 55, would you take it?
Oh, that's a tough one.
That was the question, and I think the player said, as much as I'd love to win a Stanley Cup, I do like my health, and so I would definitely put that ahead of it. But going back to the Russia stories, the guy that was doing the interview said, oh, that's good, because some of the Russians would say, yeah, I'll take 2 of those pills and give me one for my buddy.
Yeah, that's interesting. And it's tough for them to ask 18-year-old kids these kinds of questions, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I'll just say that really quick. There was another story where if you're on the bus in junior and you're underage and the captain brings you back to the bus and says, here's 5 beers, you got 40, you got half an hour, what do you do? You know what I mean? Just questions, putting these guys in situations of, you got a tough decision to make here. You got some teammates wanting you to do stuff. You're underage. You shouldn't be drinking. So how do you kind of answer this? So these are some of the questions that I give my clients, not to answer to me, but just an understanding of what potentially could be out there for you. Yep.
That's a tough one. You're back there. You want the captain. You want to fit in. You want them to like you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What are you doing with that? Pretend you drink it and pour a little bit out or something?
What do you do, right?
Hey?
What do you do? You
gotta think about that one.
Hey, Yorkie? You probably chugged the pint. Hey, Yorkie?
Well, you got it. At least one.
Yeah. Well, back in Yorkie's day, he would have already been cracking one probably.
Wow. When you're older, of course.
Yeah, okay. So you have Jack Quinn went 8th overall at Buffalo. Brent, I want to show the Brent Clark video in a sec here, Randy, because this to me, I'm going to say, what feels better, watching one of your clients get drafted like this or scoring a hat trick in the National Hockey League? My guess is it might be this, but just roll the video, Gavin, and I just want people to experience
the LA Kings are proud to select from the Barrie Colts of the OHL, Brent Clark.
That's our 4th D-man in 8 selections. Look at Brent. He cannot believe it. We kind of had him slotted here, Sam. You thought this was the organization for this right-handed shooting defenseman.
If you look at Chris Byrne, the gentleman who just made the pick, he lives in the Ottawa area.
Okay, how awesome is that feeling?
It's one of the best in what I do in the business. Like we're trying to get guys to the NHL, and that's a big part of it. It's unfortunate that it was a COVID draft, like Jack. I mean, Jack goes 8th overall, Brant goes 8th overall the year before. I mean, and they're not there to experience the full, the full on down to the stage and all that kind of stuff. So they missed out a little bit on that. But to see these guys, go through, I'm working with these guys. I'm embarrassed to say, but like they're 14 and 15 years old, and we start, talking and starting to build that relationship. So, there's 3, 4, 5 years prior to what you're seeing there on the draft. So to see that was, I'm just off to the side. You can't see me on the camera, but we had a draft party at Brent at the Happy Fish on Elgin. Who provided a great environment for us, an opportunity to have lots of friends and family. But I mean, you saw the emotion on not just Brant's face, but the whole entire family. To be a part of that and to know that I helped in some way, create that path for him to get there was extremely gratifying, and it was definitely amazing to be a part of and experience that with the family. That's a dream come true for these players, and it's the start of hopefully, which is a long career.
And I meant to point out, Graham Clark is in that, but he's the brother that's super excited, also drafted by the New Jersey Devils, another one of your clients. So here's the flip side of that, and Randy, because you're in the U18 league and that stuff in Ottawa. Kids are getting all their hopes are, I guess, being poured into trying to get drafted and everything. You went undrafted. Can you talk, what do you say to the kids who think that everything is coming to an end because they don't get drafted? How do you explain to tell them just keep working? This isn't the end of the road.
I think you just said it. I know it's not like they probably don't want to hear it. All they see is the draft, and they don't understand. Like, there's lots of ways to skin the cat. There's lots of ways to get there. I mean, I think you've seen now more than ever, second and third year draft eligibles getting drafted. So just because you're not getting drafted as a first year eligible doesn't mean good things aren't on the horizon for you. So the message is, let's stay with it. Let's continue to work. Let's continue to develop. Even my guys that are drafted, I'm not afraid to remind them, look at the history. Just because you're a first round pick or a second round pick, or because you're drafted, that does not mean you're going to be you're not going to be a player in the National Hockey League. You know what I mean? So continue to work. It's definitely a good start, but the work is just beginning. So a big part of what I do, guys, is trying to make sure that I provide the right development tools so these guys can continue to get better. Whether it's off ice workouts, scheduling, skating sessions or skill sessions throughout the off season, to get these guys better, because that's what I'm in the business for, is to try to get these guys to the NHL. And the way they do that is when they keep improving, because it's very competitive. And
I'll say, just because I know Randy doesn't want to toot his own horn, but he spends a lot of time with his clients, doing stuff that skill development, talking, and it's going the extra mile. And it's some people do it, some people don't, but it's those little things that make a difference for the families. Absolutely.
And of course, he's always at Tony Greco's. I'll make this quick. There is no right path, correct? Unless you're, I'll say, a high-end first-round Brant Clark, Jack Quinn, even still. But there's so much out there, and especially when you look at the U.S. and how many different leagues. People just think there's only one way, and that's the CHL to get to the NHL. But it seems now there's a lot more, and you just have to navigate whatever you think is best for you.
Exactly. I would say 99% of the kids growing up here in Ontario, they see the OHL. Whether the guys out west would see the WHL, or the guys in Quebec would see the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League as their only path. But as they get to a certain age, 15, 16, there's an OHL draft there, depending on how that looks for the player, whether you're able to play in the league at 16, starts to open up conversations in my world to no, there's other things, you know, south of the border, you know, U.S. prep schools are a big component, the USHL, big component, educating these players and families on there is another path, and it's a great path, which is the NCAA. And I'm fortunate enough to have partners out of the U.S., which gives us a good balance of kids that wanting to go to the U.S. We have those connections, college, or, you know, me being here in Ontario, having the opportunity to get these kids through the OHL. So there isn't one path. There's lots of different paths, and everyone's on a different path at different times. So, like I said, just going back to staying with it and continuing to get better. One of my jobs is to make sure I help create a path for them.
By the way, my kid needs some representation. I just want to throw it out there. Quickly, I see Edge Sports Management on your client list has Travis Konechny and Tom Wilson, 2 players Ottawa fans would really like to see in Ottawa. I just want to mention it. If there's ever a chance, just throwing it out there. You don't have to comment. We would like to see Tom Wilson here, Yorkie and I. Okay. Finally, I promised we would talk about Yorkie's bingo. Gavin, can you just roll this video, please? And then
the bingo.
Yeah, this is what Yorkie's new job. He's moonlighting now. He needs a second income.
Big money in bingo. Big money in bingo.
He doesn't
and pickleball.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. We'll watch it next time.
Okay. Anyway, we'll get to bingo later. Randy, I appreciate your time. It's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it. You've got lots to talk to and a busy week for you. So I'm looking forward to seeing how things work out for you and all your clients this week. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Roby. We'll talk soon.
Thanks.
There goes Randy Robitaille, player agent from Edge Sports Media. Edge Sports Management. Just a good dude. Our kids played against each other all year. Our kids work out together with
good guy, Wally. And like I said, he's a humble guy. Like, he spends a lot of time with the kids in his stable, like doing stuff off ice, on ice. And he's, you know what, a lot of experience. We listed off all his careers. But there's the thing. You and I were talking about this before the show about Randy. He's a really, really talented player. And, you know, it's had a great career, but it's so dependent on right place, right time. Lots of time for Roby. Great Russia stories as well.
Oh, see, and that's it. Like, I wish he actually didn't do so much stuff, because I wanted just to talk about the playing career. But I think now we'll have to get him back on, because I think now is the time just to talk about the draft and all the stuff that's happening. For sure. I still had other questions. I wanted him to see if he could remember all the numbers he's worn in the National Hockey League. That was my trivia question, but maybe next time. Yorkie, I know the golf course is calling for you, so
playing in a charity. I got to go to the Canadian today. I'm playing in a charity event, so got to get on the road soon.
Fair enough. We'll leave the Hall of Fame chat for another day.
Okay.
We'll see you, Yorkie. Take care, my friend.
See you, everybody.
Thanks for watching.
Coming in Hot is brought to you by Botano.ca. Please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel to never miss an episode.